Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast. Today, I am really excited because I met this founder at New York Now, and literally their brand and booth jumped out at me. And I knew I had to connect with them and have them on the podcast. So, Victoria Schulte of Crevette Design Studio is here today. She's the co founder and creative director. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice meeting you in New York, and now I'm happy that, we get a chat like this.
Yes, absolutely. So, something that stood out to me right off the bat was your use of color and bringing in foods into your displays and how you're merchandising your jewelry. And again, when I walked down the floor, I was like, oh, these are my people. Like I just instantly felt that feeling. So, walk me through. I want to know everything. What is the story behind the brand, your
Yeah.
background? I know you have a co founder also.
Mm.
I would love to hear more behind the curtain.
Yeah, so I'm Victoria. Like you said, I kind of handle creative direction, marketing, e-com, websites, miscellaneous stuff on the back end. And then my business partner, Charlotte Zapula, she is the designer extraordinaire. She also sources all the stones. She handles all the meetings with clients. Production, QuickBooks is her secret specialty. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome to have a
I know,
co-founder who loves
truly,
QuickBooks.
truly, because bane of my existence. I hate it. I throw a fit every week. Yeah. So, yeah, Charlotte and I have actually worked together for going on, I think 6 or 7 years. We worked previously together at another jewelry brand, and a bit of a unique situation. She was the first employee at this brand, and I was the second employee. So we kind of got the hands-on brand building experience without having to take any of like the financial risk.
Right.
And we got a ton of exposure into, what does it look like building a website, building out inventory, coming up with, collections from start to finish. My background is by the time I'd started that job, it was, roughly in marketing, but I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do. I definitely didn't have any fine jewelry experience at all. Um, it just worked out though. And Charlotte and I were able to not kind of, we did bring the company that we were at from, a very small fine jewelry startup to now it's a very large brand in the fine jewelry space with multiple store locations, lots of employees. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of where we started. But it's almost been a year since we started Crevette. So about a year-ish ago, we were like, you know what? We wanted like the two main things that we started Crevette from, the two ideas were we want to do what we want with our time, which everyone does.
Yes.
And we want to do what we want with our creativity. That honestly was definitely the more leading factor. I think a lot of people, nothing against this because it works. They'll start a business because they want to make money or they want to achieve this certain, success threshold that they have in their mind. And I'm not going to say we don't want to make money or be successful. We do, but that wasn't even really part of what our reasoning was behind starting Crevette. Not once did we feel like, how is this going to work? Are we going to be able to afford things? Are we going to be able to figure this out? It's always been from the second we had the idea, like, oh, we're doing this. It's non-negotiable. Like we're doing it. There's no other option. It just aligned completely with both of us. And we both had the experience to, be able to jump ship and dive into our own thing pretty quickly.
That was going to be my question of you're working together in this company, you help build it from the ground up, but now you're like, okay, it's our turn. Like
Yeah,
we want to have this now up at with our experience working together. Was
yeah.
it a hard launch of like we're going to do it on our own? Like what
It,
was that transition like? Cuz I'm sure so many people could resonate with that or on
yeah.
that cusp of like okay.
Yeah,
Okay, it's time.
it's time. Yeah. Charlotte and I, Charlotte's definitely more woo-woo than I am, but she's slowly pulling me into the woo-woo side. But we both are really big believers in intuition. And so many things were happening before we figured, before we decided to take a risk that were kind of not negative, but things that were just like, dude, we are not happy with what we're doing in life. Like I am in, at one point I remember saying, like, I'm in lazy river mode. Like I am just clocking in, clocking out. I'm so unhappy. I'm not creatively fulfilled. Like this sucks. And she was in the exact same position. And I swear, like the second we were like, wait, could we do this ourselves? Everything fell into place. The capital we needed fell into place. Timing fell into place as far as like when, Charlotte stayed at the company that we were at longer than I did. And things just fell into place where it was like, okay, this is the natural time that makes sense to put in your notice and to leave. Different people coming into our lives, the studio we rent, like everything has just lined up so perfectly. It's been a lot of work, don't get me wrong. It's not like we're just sitting
Sure.
here chilling. Um, but I saw this quote, and who knows how true it is or not, but it's like the universe rewards the bold. So if you have
Ooh,
an
I
idea
like that.
and you're gonna jump, just fucking do it. Just oops. Am I allowed to cuss in this?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a New
Uh,
Yorker. Don't worry.
um, like just do it. There's no, the concept of us failing. I think there's been one point when I'm like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work out? And it's those late night anxiety
Right.
spirals. I've
Right.
had two of those, and I'm a very anxious person. But when you know that you are on the right path, you cannot fail. It may not end up how you thought it was going to look when you started, but that's not failing, that's
Absolutely.
activity, that's moving towards what you're supposed to do. And it's just some days we'll get very overwhelmed. There's so much to do. And it's just like one step in front of the other. And we'll,
Right.
text each other that we do like vibe checks on certain days when, we're feeling stressful. And I'm like, all right, how are you feeling today? Did we get through, the little mental blocks or the little negative self-doubt that we have from time to time? And it's like, yeah, it all works out. It has all worked out. It will continue to all work out. I so strongly believe that.
Also, I love that you said that you do vibe checks with each other. I feel
Yeah.
like that's a great takeaway right off the bat of if you have a co-founder or you're working
Yes.
closely with people to have those check-ins to just have like an honest human conversation aside
Yeah.
from just the business that you're building and the brand, just like
Yeah.
on a personal level, like how are you feeling? Where's your head? Where are
Mhm.
you getting held up? The
Yeah.
fact that you both have that honest communication with each other also speaks to the strength that you're bringing to the table for each other, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I could not do this without Charlotte. I would not want to do this without Charlotte. Because we've worked with each other first before becoming close friends, I think at the base of our, co-founder relationship is a deep respect and trust in how the other one's work ethic is. Um, I know Charlotte, we're never like, are you working today? Are you not working? It's very much she's on top of her shit. I'm on top of my shit. If there's issues or holdups, we talk about it. We have definitely had, some more intense or frustrating conversations that we've worked through. We're both very passionate, direct-ish people. So of course there's going to be conflict when strong personalities are involved, but Charlotte's background is actually in therapy. So she is very good
Oh, I
at,
love that.
yeah, I mean, if or whenever we decide to hire employees, I'm like, dude, will be the perfect, she's managed teams, like she knows how to build loyalty. She's just a genuinely good, moral driven person. And I
Right.
like cannot say enough how lucky I am to have a business partner like that because this, you know, our strengths and weaknesses balance each other out. And I
That's
can't
incredible.
recommend enough if, you're starting a business with a friend, like make sure you know how they work before you start.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to how you both worked at another company and was able to be in the trenches together. So
Mhm.
to know also when things go down, how does that person show up? I
Yeah.
think that's a really big lesson too,
Yeah.
which I've learned the hard way, but also I've seen like the positive side of it, of seeing, behind the scenes before you jump into a brand or a business with someone.
Yeah.
And that's priceless, right?
Yeah.
For you to get that preview. So I
It's
love the story of you both. It's
yeah.
so cool. I love it. So walk us through. So I thought you've actually been around longer than a year. Congratulations. Like a
You know.
year is a huge accomplishment, but also it's like you all have really done so much in a year. Just following you online and seeing the progression of just from when I first saw you at New York Now. What has been something that's helped you cut through the noise in the jewelry space? Because like we were saying before we hit record today, the jewelry industry is so saturated. I've worked on a few jewelry brand strategies, just being a consumer myself, working on consumer brands for a decade now.
Yeah.
It's a really hard space. So I would love to hear the strategy behind you and Char's vision for the brand and how you wanted to cut through the noise and make your own distinct style. Like when I
Yeah.
see your pieces on social, I know it's you, even
Yeah.
without seeing the brand name pop up. Like it
Yeah.
has its own vibe. So could you walk us through how you found that niche?
Yeah. So I think that not I think. So when Charlotte and I were first, trying to figure out what is this brand? What are we gravitating towards? I think the main thing, if you're building a brand where you are going to be involved like as the face of the brand or faces of the brand, the personality
Right.
behind the brand,
Right.
it has to resonate with you. So there's very beautiful trends right now that have lasted a while that it's very, minimal, thin, dainty, delicate. That's beautiful. That's for some people. That's not for us. And we really, I mean, more and more data is coming out that consumers are so over being sold bullshit from inauthentic sources, from people who like turn off the camera and they throw the shit they're selling in the trash or never use it, or we wanted our brand to feel like us, to feel like our home, to feel like our own jewelry, our own fashion style. We and in our personality, we both are louder, a little bit funky, a little bit weird. We're not for everyone. Personally, we're not for everyone. And we wanted a brand that reflected that. If you're looking for minimal, dainty, delicate, it's probably not going to be with us, and that's okay. There's plenty of other people out there. But something we really didn't see in the jewelry space were these loud, vibrant colors and a little bit of messiness and juiciness. Juicy is always a word I come back to. Just like the juiciness of life is what drives us as people. Let's have our brand follow that feeling of like, the feeling of when you get back from the beach with your friends and your partner, and you guys are all just hanging out and eating and drinking and enjoying life and sitting in a beautiful, golden hour sunset, and just that feeling of being so happy, even though things are a little chaotic and a lot's going on. How do you translate that as a brand? Um, and so that's where a lot of like the juicy, bright colors have come in. That's where a lot of the movement and shapes have come in. And especially with our first collection, we called it Flow. It had, gosh, I think it had 13 pieces in it for our first capsule. And it kind of was a reflection of kind of the movements that it took for us to get to a point of launching, like the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the detours,
Oh, I love that.
and kind of that is directly reflected in the jewelry. Um, the creative aspect and the creative journey is something that we come back to weekly, if not daily. Um, and I think something that, just as a caveat, you don't have to paint or draw or sketch to be creative. Creativity can be, oh, how do I want this email to be designed? Where do I want this to exist on the website? Where do I want to place this gem? Like there's so many different aspects of creativity. And for a while I'd get hung up on like, well, I'm not doing anything creative. I'm just doing email marketing, or I'm just doing this. And that's just so not true. Creativity is everywhere in everything you do. So that's a big aspect of like how we go about our work days, how we go about talking about upcoming launches, upcoming jewelry designs, what's bright, what's juicy, what's fun.
I
Like,
could totally see that word,
yeah.
especially juicy, because I remember for your merchandising setup at New York Now, I want to say there was an actual like orange or right? It's like some
Mhm.
citrus that you had cut
Yeah.
in half and put a ring in. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, more
Yeah.
of that because that's the type of stuff I'm drawn to. And I don't normally see that in many
Yeah.
jewelry brands, but that's
Yeah.
totally my personality. Like I would totally do that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
It's,
and the vibes and the
yeah.
color and the juiciness.
It's really fun also hearing you say that. And I'm glad it resonated because our brand pulls in exactly the type of people that we are. Um, every time we have an open studio or even, our appointments, people come in and we just end up hanging out with our clients. Like I feel like we just sit in our studio and get to talk to fun people who are like-minded, who have similar interests, and they also want fun jewelry that we happen to make. So it just is, our people always find us. Because I think that there is, an unspoken understanding that we are being authentic. We are being ourselves. We're not
Right.
putting on an air and pretending that, we're these fun, playful people. When in reality, we do nothing. We sit at home, like
Yeah.
people recognize when you're being authentic. And Charlotte and I were talking the other day, and as much as our jewelry sells, we also sell, um, because of our dynamic, because of how we just don't take ourselves super seriously all the time. We always joke around like we're going to the trade show again.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, we're going to be back in a couple weeks in New York. So I'll text you. Maybe we can catch.
Yes, please.
Um, but yeah, we always joke that like in our little cohort, we're the personality hires. And that's kind of just who we are as people. We're like the weird personality hires. We also work really hard, so it's not only personality hires, but that's the vibe we bring.
I feel that so much. And I
Yeah.
feel sometimes I am also the personality hire because I'm a little quirky and weird. And like people are
Yep.
like, I kind of get you, but there's also a part of you that I'm like, what? Who
Yep.
are you? What's your story? So
Exactly.
that resonates with me. See, like I
Yeah.
totally got that feeling. So what
Yeah.
do you see as a vision for the brand? Because you're a year in, which again
Yeah.
is amazing, but you have so much more, I'm sure, that you want to do and
Yeah.
go and explore. I mean, there's so much potential
It's really
with this
exciting.
brand.
I'm so excited.
I, I would wake up every morning like leaping out of bed. They'd be like, "What?
Yeah.
We got this." So I would love to hear the vision that you all have.
Yeah. So when we were choosing the name, we were between either Crevette Design Studio or Crevette Fine Jewelry. And the more we were thinking about fine jewelry, we were like, do we only want to carry fine jewelry forever? Is that where we want our brand? Let's not box ourselves in. So I am, hindsight, so glad we did that. I recently have been getting into stained glass, and I
Ooh.
picked it up in April and I've just fallen in love. And something that's really cool about the brand is that we can do whatever we want. We always joke like, oh, we can do whatever we want. We just launched a collection that's based entirely on nudibranches, which are sea slugs. It's
Love
very
it.
bright. juicy, weird, out there. All of the creative for it is stemming from collage and just weirdness. Like, where do I want my eye to land in this campaign? Um, so like that concept of like, oh, we can do whatever we want. I'm working on a stained glass collection that we're going to be releasing next month, where
Ooh.
it's just going to be one of one pieces, and pieces that I'm just super excited to make. I've been wanting to try out. And then we're also going to be coming out with a silver collection for some of our, more Gen Z girlies out there who maybe aren't ready to splurge on fine jewelry, but want something from the brand. We're going to be offering that. We have like new wedding bands coming out. There really is so much. And I think for us, because there is so much
Right.
happening, and there's only two of us, our main goals to like, you know, cut out the noise and stay on track is we want to keep our overhead low. So right now we're in a studio space that we rent once a week and then a couple Saturdays a month. Eventually we'd love to have our own, custom built out studio. But I think an important thing when you are building a brand is to be realistic about cash flow and to not feed into like, well, what are they doing? Oh, they have a store. We have to have a store.
Right.
They have, a ton of inventory. We need to bulk up our inventory. Um, it can be very, it can be a little bit of a compare game. And we just have to remind ourselves like their journey is not our journey. At the end of the day, like it's the two of us and we have to figure out what works best for us. The sky's like kind of the limit with what we want to do. Charlotte's getting really into hand carving again. So we're going to be
Ooh.
releasing one of one designs that she's hand carved. Um, there's so much, and yet we want to focus on sustainable growth. So, while we have these ideas for big collections and photo shoots and campaigns, like what makes sense financially right now? Let's be sustainable about this. We don't need to be the most, have the most exquisite pop-ups and do giant collabs and influencer trips and all of that. Like we're not there and we are those type of people. Like let's not force
Right.
ourselves. Other people are doing it. So
I love that advice too, of following a path that works for you and your
yeah,
brand, not
yeah,
looking at everyone else and just trying to duplicate what everyone else is doing to feel like you're in the mix, but
yeah.
really honing in on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a waste of time and money to be a trend hopper. It just
Right.
is. And we don't like we've said since from the beginning, like our business is driven by design, not trends. So just because, delicate little tiny bands are in style or these giant chains are in style, that doesn't mean we're going to do it. That doesn't mean we're going to carry it. Like if it doesn't resonate with us, if it's not something that we're excited about or would want to wear, we are not going to carry it just to make money. We're not we're not in this solely to make money. We want to live and have creative, fulfilling lives. But our goals are not to buy 3 houses or have a billion stores or, we want to love life and do cool shit while we're here.
I
That's
love
like
it.
the goal.
I love it. I think that's a great mantra.
Yeah.
What would be a piece of advice? You've mentioned so many great pieces of advice, but if you were to think about one thing that maybe you remind yourself or something you both come back to, or just a lesson learned in this past year to a founder who's in the really early stages of putting the pieces together for their brand, what would be something that you would remind that person?
Um, I mean, it's so simple, but it's just like be present is
Mm,
is so, that sounds so like lame.
no, that's so good.
It's so true because I mean, there even Charlotte and I have times where we're like okay, this week or a couple weeks ago, we closed like our first, for us right now, very large engagement ring where we were like, based on that, we made our month. And it was so exciting. And then it
Yes.
was like, okay, and next, like, no, we need to celebrate things. You need to be present and enjoy the work that you're doing. There's always going to be more work. There are always things that are going to go wrong and be headaches and just like drive you insane. But if you don't stop to slow down and be present and enjoy the wins and the growth that you are doing tangibly, like there's no one else doing it but us. We need to celebrate that. Like that is something that we need to stop being so hard on ourselves and perfectionists and be like, oh, hell yeah. Like a year ago, our first client spent X amount. Less than a year later, like we're dealing with these big budgets now. And that is purely because of all the work we did over the last year, even if it felt like we were trudging along or in the weeds. So like being present and enjoying the wins, I think is really important and makes it less of a mundane job, you know? Like,
That is such solid advice. Thank you for saying that. And this is
yeah,
something that I'm personally just learning.
yeah,
I've been an
it's
entrepreneur
hard.
for 15 years, and I feel like this is the first quarter in those 15 years. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I could just breathe a little bit, and
Yeah,
maybe it's just, seeing numbers
yeah,
on the board and seeing progress that definitely helps for myself to be present. But okay, you could be like a human
yeah.
and
Like,
do human things and
yeah,
chill.
you don't need like for so long, even before I worked at the last place, like pretty much since I graduated during college, like I've always taken my work ethic so seriously because I felt like subconsciously that's all I had to offer. So I had
Yeah.
to be working. I was, the youngest. I have to prove myself. I'm the only woman in here. I have to prove myself. Like go, 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 go. For one, not my own businesses. And two, for the sake of my at the expense of my mental health, my relationships, my friendships, my life experiences. Like I've missed out on really cool vacations. I've had tumultuous times in friendships and relationships because I've been so absorbed with this idea of work, 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 work. And it might be controversial to say this, but like we don't work 80-hour weeks. We enjoy there are weeks where we work a shit ton. And then there are weeks where like a couple weeks ago, the weather was finally nice in San Diego. And we were like, let's just go to the beach today. Like, who cares? It straight up doesn't. Also, the idea of like, it doesn't matter. There are no rules. There's no one telling you you have to do it this way. You have to work from 9 to 5. You
Right.
have to be sitting at a desk while you do that. Like, no. If I want to work at 8 p.m. and enjoy the day, I'm going to do that. Like just enjoying my day to day and being able to carve out free time for myself throughout the day, throughout the week is so important. And I know Charlotte does that too.
Thank you
We have,
for this reminder. I feel like I needed to hear this podcast
yeah,
today because I do sometimes feel that guilt of
yeah,
like,
it's
oh man, I should be doing something and even yesterday I finished a bit early, but like I was prepping stuff for the podcast and I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm still laying in bed listening to like Real Housewives, but like I was doing a little bit of work. So that was like helping me chill out. But you're right. Like
that guilt though is like,
it's so
why is that
weird.
there?
I have no
Why?
idea why.
Yeah. Something I definitely have realized is like the my self-worth cannot be tied to something I can't control. I actually
Right.
cannot control if gold keeps skyrocketing and sales go down. physically cannot control that. I can't control if something happened with our website and it went down because of some, server on Shopify. I can't control that. There's a billion things I can't control. So why am I letting my self-worth be attached to that? Like my self-worth is coming, as I work on it more from like, do I have fun with my friends? Like, am I a
Yeah.
fun person to be around? Am I, present in my marriage? Am I showing up for my dogs? Like, am I
I
around,
really understand what
you
you're
know?
saying. I really, really do. And maybe this comes with age also,
I think definitely.
right? Of like when you're young and you have like that chip on your shoulder that you have
Yeah.
to prove
Have to
something. But then
prove.
once you like find your own groove and like things are clicking, you're like, all
Yeah.
right, hold on.
Like, oh, those rules are just rules I made up in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Why why am I being mean to myself? Is
Right.
something like I wish I could go back. There's a lot of things that not that I would do differently, but if I could go back and be like, hello, little 22-year-old Victoria, like just so you know, when someone treats you that way at business, in business, like they're a shitty person. That doesn't mean you need to keep working for them. That doesn't mean you need to put up with it. Like you don't need to work till 10 p.m. while the owners are out on their, fucking $1 million vacation. Like you don't need to do these things. What are you doing?
Yes. Yes. So I hope that this podcast episode reaches that, even if it reaches
And
one
even just
person,
one, like,
I would feel really fulfilled because I feel like these are the conversations. And thank you for going there with me
yeah,
because I think these are the things that we need to talk about more. And I feel like, again, like coming from a place where you felt like you had to prove yourself to now being like, no, my self worth could be from a fulfilling partnership and
yeah,
hanging out with my friends and being a present dog parent.
yeah.
Like
And
it's
just like
those little things, but they're huge things and they
they're
fill you
huge.
up.
They
Fill
fill
you
you up.
up.
And I was just reading this quote last night. Shoot, I can't remember who it was from. Um, and it was just like this concept of going lightly through the world. Take things
Mm.
lighter. It's not so serious. Um, and I just, not to sound bad, but like I don't care if some people don't like our jewelry or our campaigns or our emails. I know my mom doesn't like some of the jewelry we come out with, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, we like it. It's going to resonate with the right people. And if it doesn't resonate with you, it's not for you. And that's
Right.
okay.
And that's okay.
And it's very freeing, though, to be like, I don't care. I care in that I care about my fulfillment from it. I do
Right.
not care if some random person walking by goes, oh, that's ugly. I'm just like, oh, cool, you have bad taste. I don't know what to tell you. Like, sucks for you. Bye. Like, sorry, sucks for you. Like, just a freeing, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Straight up, nothing matters. Everything matters and nothing matters. So, like, let's all just chill out. Let's not get burnt out.
I love this.
Smooth, flow state,
Hello.
flow.
Victoria, I really appreciated this
I'm so glad we got
conversation
to
because
talk.
I needed this reminder. Seriously, and this is kind
Good.
of the vibe I'm going on now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I could just like be in
Totally.
this vibe in this flow. So thank
Yeah.
you for this confirmation of like keep going in that space because it also feels better.
It feels better. And I swear when it feels good, shit goes well.
Yeah. And
Like,
business has been going really well. I'm like, is this all I needed to do?
just gotta kind of like lean in and be like, let's
Right.
see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep working. I'm not saying be,
totally.
quote unquote lazy, but like it's also not lazy to be done at 3 p.m. and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
the beach and I'm gonna go to happy hour with my friends and then I'm gonna smoke a joint when I get home and chill. Like, who
There you
cares?
go.
Yeah. That's
I'm
the
obsessed.
takeaway. Just smoke
I
a
love
joint
it.
and chill. Kidding.
I love it. I love it. Most importantly, where can we shop your incredible
Yeah.
jewelry?
For people who are not located in San Diego, California, online is a great way to shop. We also do virtual consultations and calls. So if someone was like, I don't know how this ring is going to fit with my ring, we'll hop on a call or we'll, have you send photos so we can do a little mock-up. And then, yeah, if you're local here, in San Diego, we have a studio every Wednesday. We have appointments, and then a couple Saturdays a month we do pop-ups that anyone can just like walk in. We call it open studio. We're always serving delicious orange wine and some little snacks. Yeah, and we're all over Instagram, TikTok. I'm doing my best, but
You're doing awesome. You
we're
both
there.
are. It's incredible, and I really appreciate you taking us behind the scenes today. This
Yeah,
was such a great episode. I know so many people will find value and inspiration and just like that creative support that they
yeah.
needed to hear today, and I know that they will find it here. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much. I had such a good time. I hope to see you in New York.
Yes, I'll see you in New York, and thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.